Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Slice and Dice Ecom. I'm Mara, and this is Josh, the founder of ClickSlice, and recently the Knit in a Box owner, our first ecom brand that we acquired.
Still sounds weird hearing
It
that.
does,
I
doesn't
can't lie.
it?
Like I'm not used to hearing brand owner. Like, what's that?
Well, that's you now.
Yeah.
So you should get used to it.
I will.
And in this episode, we want to talk about everything you need to know when you're considering acquiring an ecom brand. You might be after watching this video, so we want you to be ready for that. And to start this episode off with the first question, I would like to ask you, what are the key factors to consider when looking for an e-commerce brand to acquire? Because there's so many out there.
Yeah, no, I actually touched on this a little bit in the previous podcast actually, but I'll go a bit more detailed in this one. I think the biggest thing to consider is making sure the brand you acquire supports the overall goal of your business. So let's say we're an e-commerce SEO agency. We offer SEO to ecom brands, right? And we've acquired an ecom brand. So it makes complete sense for us. We have a whole team that can rank it, that specialize in ecom SEO. And on top of that, acquiring an ecom brand also gives us a chance to have another case study for our agency. And it also gives us another unique selling point to other ecom brands we're trying to sell to at the agency, to say, hey, we don't just do ecom SEO. We actually own our own ecom brand, and we've done ecom SEO on this brand, and we scaled it from this to that. So imagine what we can do for you. So, that supports my overall goal of ClickSlice. We're so embedded into the ecom industry. It's not changing anytime soon, or probably never changing. So it's making sure, whatever you do aligns with your ultimate goal. Because I think a lot of people just see it as like, they acquired a brand. I want to acquire a brand. I'm good at SEO. So, I'm going to buy this brand selling tennis rackets, and I do law firm SEO. It's like, dude, that's just like a completely random business. Like, make it make sense. So I think that's the first thing. I think once you find a brand that, is of interest, is in your niche, the financials make sense, obviously run a SWOT analysis. So that's going through the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats as well. You need to know what you're up against. So for the brand we acquired, Knit in the Box, we knew pretty much the strengths, the community around it. The niche was great. It's not really that volatile. There were some threats to it. People maybe getting more passionate or into crochet. That's kind of on the rise. So how would that affect knitting? So did lots of things to consider to make it work. And probably the biggest thing as well is who's going to run the brand?
Right.
And if you're running your agency and you buy a brand, who's going to run that brand?
Because you definitely have to think about everything.
It takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
Luckily for us, it's pretty straightforward because we outsource all the operational stuff and logistics to a 3PL company.
Makes it so much easier.
Brand itself is run by you, and you have no involvement in any of our client campaigns. So we're not kind of pulling away from our agency to grow this, because if you do that, then you're just essentially trying to spin as many plates as you can. You want to keep both plates spinning, and we have done a really good job of that, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And we're going to be making an even better job going forward, which is great. But because there are so many brands out there, and I really want to hear this from you, how do you evaluate the potential growth of an existing brand before making a decision to acquire? Because it is a very big decision, so you have to think about everything, right?
Yeah, that is a really good question. It all comes down to market research. Like, the brand we bought is in the knitting niche. I know nothing about knitting. I know a bit more now than October 2024 when we acquired it.
Yeah.
Still don't know how to knit. I have no intentions to learn to knit.
Oh, come on.
No, I mean, Mara says she wants to learn crochet.
Yeah, I do.
I feel offended. Like, it's a knitting brand. You should be learning to knit, not crochet.
Yeah, but we will be expanding, right? So.
Hey, I also gave that away. But you heard it here. We will, potentially. We don't know yet. But anyway, going back to the question, it just comes down to market research. So I looked a lot at Google Trends to see, since 2005, I think I looked at to see the overall trend of knitting. It goes up, down, up, down, up, down. Obviously peaked a bit during lockdown, the famous 2020. And it's come back to the same levels before, actually a little bit higher. So a very stable niche. I looked at where I think it's going to go going forward. Tom Daly's a very big person. Is it just the UK, or is he big? Oh, he's a diver, so I guess everyone knows him,
He's
right?
big everywhere, and he's an Olympic champion. Everybody knows him.
There you go. Silly me. So he's heavily involved into knitting, so that helps the whole overall industry grow. So it's a lot of research, and then once you kind of have a good idea of the market potential, you then need to look at where is the business in comparison to the whole market potential. We don't have a Tom Daly recommending us or promote our product, so
we wish we had one.
Maybe we'll have soon, And stay tuned for the next episode. But no, like, we knew Knit in the Box, for example, was not on page one on Google for the main terms. We knew they wasn't really tapping into paid social enough. We knew they wasn't leveraging UGC content. So we knew there was so much more they could do to grow the brand and get more subscribers and generate more sales. So you really need to stick to what you're good at. Like, we know this is kind of child's play for us. We know what we're looking at. We know what we're up against. We know the tools. We know the trends. We know, like, it's very straightforward for us. And it's only because we've stayed in our niche and we stayed in our lane. If I was trying to buy a law firm or even a law practice, for example, that ranks on page 2, I can make it on page 1. I know nothing about law. I don't even know where to start. Like,
yeah, why would you?
Exactly, but too many people do that and go wrong. So I think ultimately it comes down to market research. Another part of it as well, which is really important, and I probably spent way too many hours, and I'm ashamed to admit, is looking at the competition.
Yeah.
And I like to look at the largest brands in the industry that I'm competing with because it shows me what's possible. I don't want to look at another like for like because I'm not going to get anything out of that. And we saw and actually met some of these brands this week, actually. Who are our competitors, but kind of suppliers at the same time. It's a very weird industry. But yeah, I know what's possible. Like, we saw the warehouse, we saw how many boxes they have, and we know where we're at. So it gives me more reassurance that, wow, there's actually so much potential in this industry. So have a look at your competition, see what they're doing well. And of course, it goes beyond just what your brand is selling at the time you acquire it. Like, we are selling knitting kits, but can we sell a different type of knitting kit, maybe a more expensive one, a more premium? Can we introduce crochet? Can we introduce knit? Like, there's so much more opportunities you can add on to an existing brand to increase your revenue. And again, that should play a big part of what you look at when you're acquiring a brand. So yeah, it's quite a very detailed answer, but it's just a big brain dump of like what anyone should be looking at, really.
Well, I'm sure everyone loves detailed answers because they get to hear from your experience and learn from it. So it is very interesting. It definitely is not as straightforward as we would like it to be. And I'm sure there are challenges as well. And I want to ask you what were some of the biggest challenges in transitioning the ownership from the previous owner and taking control of the brand?
I think the biggest issue in transition was probably getting up to speed with everything. Like I said, we don't know anything about knitting. So when they're telling me yarn this 50 balls, 50 grams, 100 grams, acrylic premium, like, I'm like, what? Like, I just see yarn. Why is that one £2? Why is that one £90? Like, let's do the £2 one and make better margins. Oh, no. They're completely different. Of course, I know that. It's quite obvious anyway, but when it gets to the middle ground of like £10 versus £12 yarn, like, to me, it's the same thing. We'll go with the £10. But no, there's a big difference. So understanding the product, I think, is something I probably overlooked a little bit, and that was quite challenging in the transition, because when we had the conversation with the previous brand owner and he was telling us, yeah, you want to put 4-ply in this, DK this, we were just like, we didn't really understand it, did we? And I think that made our learning lesson a little bit longer as well. So that's probably not great. So try and buy a brand in a niche and maybe selling a product. If we knew the product, we would have probably saved 3 months, I reckon. 2.5 months, 3 months, easily. The other part that can be quite challenging, I think a lot of people get this wrong, is when you're acquiring a brand, you need to decide, are you acquiring the brand, actually the whole business, from company's house, moves from that person's director to you, or are you just acquiring the legal trading name? They're two different things. So obviously I got a lot of legal advice for this, and it was advised to me from the person I spoke to that you're better off just acquiring the trading name, because if you acquire the actual business from company's house and you're now the new owner of it, if that company has any historical debt, that debt is now your debt. So it's better to start from scratch. So again, that's something you definitely want to look at when you're transitioning from one brand to another brand owner. And the other thing, which we have quite a big thing of actually at Kiab, is supplier relationships. So we actually this week went to West Yorkshire, we went to the bottom of Leeds, then we went to Birmingham. Where else did we go? Was that it?
That was it. And then we came back to London.
Now we're in London recording the podcast again. But we went over all of the UK to meet with our suppliers face to face to make sure we kind of maintain a good relationship with them, because the business is all about the prices we get and the discounts, right? So the previous brand owner had a really good discount arrangement.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure when we acquire this brand, we also get these discounts and they're kept in place. And there's no guarantee of that. And he actually told us he can't guarantee that. So it's a very big risk, but we only connected with him at a probably deep level, I would say. Very helpful guy, very passionate. I speak very highly of him, and we managed to retain them. And this step was to push it even further. So I think, that's a very big thing, because I know someone actually acquired a brand based on a discount structure in place. And when he acquired it, it's a new account. You start from scratch. There's no historical sales data, so you lose your commission,
Yeah.
which is quite problematic if you're trying to scale.
It's crazy. You have to think about so much stuff.
It is.
You have to take into account so many risks as well. It's not as like if you're starting a brand from scratch, then you know everything about it. If you're acquiring it, you have to learn as you go. And something we had to learn as well is that Kiab has a very loyal community and a very tight and big community of 2,500 members right now.
2,200 when we acquired it, 2,500 now.
Yeah, we grew to 2,500 right now. So what steps did you take to ensure the brand's community and customer base were maintained after you bought the brand?
That's a really good question. And touching on what you said actually before that, how stressful it can be. Yeah, I didn't sleep for 4 weeks.
Yeah, I remember
4
you
weeks,
saying it was worrying, to be honest with you.
I was so tired. I just couldn't sleep. Like, my mind was just thinking about every problem that could come up. And one was this, like, the brand's community. Like, what good is it me buying a brand with a great community to then find out the community don't like me and then I lose the community? Like, yeah, I did not sleep at all. So it's a very stressful part, like, you go through when you're acquiring a brand, especially when it's a large amount of money as well. What we did to try and minimize kind of, customers thinking, who is this new owner? What are they going to do? Because you got to see it as, like, imagine you're bought into this brand, you love what they do, and then a new owner comes and buys it. You're going to think straight away, are they going to change it? Is prices going to go up? Are they still going to care about customers? So it's a worrying time for customers as well. And I think that's the first thing to acknowledge.
Yeah.
So what we did, we had 15 calls with the previous brand owner, maybe 20.
It was a lot, yeah.
And we basically got a breakdown on, like, what he does, how he operates, how often he engages, what does he say, what would he be doing in the next 6 months if he still managed the brand. And we made sure we kind of stayed as closely aligned to him and also make sure he aligned what we wanted to do as well. So we didn't have any disruption. And in terms of, like, actual ownership, the community is in a Facebook group, private, exclusive to just our customers. So we made sure we took full control of the Facebook group, moved from his account over to our account. And, we are now the admin and we have control over that, and we can use it for our paid media ads, whether it's building a lookalike audience or retargeting. We have full control of that. And, you don't really want to be buying any business where they own the platform, where it's in the admin email and they can't log out, because there's quite a few platforms like that.
Yeah. As I said, you have to think about so much. There's so much that goes into it, and people might not realize, because you might just have this idea, I want to acquire a brand. I want to be a brand owner starting tomorrow, but it's not as simple as that. I think
a lot of people take it for granted. Like, oh, Josh, you bought the brand. Really cool. I'm going to buy one tomorrow. It's like, please do.
Tell them about the sleepless nights you had.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. A lot of people want, like, the destination. Like, they want to be there right now, but no one wants to go on the journey.
Yeah. I think most of us are guilty of that on some level.
Yeah, me too. But, like, at this level of business, we're not the largest agency, we're not the largest e-com brand we've acquired, but, we get stuff done and we learn a lot along the way, and it's something I'm really proud of. Like, you've adapted very well to the brand as well.
Oh, thank you. I feel like too.
Yeah, you have.
I actually love it. I have this emotional connection to it now, so it's
It's a part of the community.
Yeah, I am.
Awesome.
Because there is so much you have to take into account in the research process as well before acquiring a brand, what are the financial metrics you should analyze before acquiring an e-com brand?
What one should you not?
True.
So the obvious one is the P&L, right? The profit and loss. Like, you need that. Some people just base it off the last 12 months, but for me, that's not enough. I need to see 30, 36 months. It's kind of a minimum, because it shows you the overall trend of the industry and the business as a whole. This one was a little bit challenging because obviously since 2020, it's kind of been on a decline, as most businesses, because what we saw in 2020 wasn't the norm, and in 2021 as well. So it just gives you a broader picture. You need to make sure the P&L makes sense and it is actually true, and all costs are accounted for, including VAT. Because believe it or not, some people don't include VAT on the P&L, and it should be on there. It plays into your profit and loss for sure. And I would say another part to consider, it's not really financials of the business at acquisition, but it's really good to know what your AOV is, your average order value, and your LTV as well. Because if you acquire a business that, say, has an average order value of £5, what's your profit margin going to be on that? I don't know, £2, £1.50. So then you have to think about, okay, how can I grow this brand in terms of marketing? I can't spend any more than £1 to acquire a customer, because if it costs me £1 to acquire and I make £1.50, then I make 50p profit. And after I pay tax, like, you making anything. So I definitely recommend really paying attention to the AOV, predominantly LTV, because obviously we're subscription based, so our AOV isn't actually that high at the moment. It will be. We've got some plans in store. But our lifetime value is pretty high because customers stay subscribed for a pretty long time. So we know we can spend half of our LTV to acquire it and make this amount of profit. And we can pretty much spend a lot of money on SEO scaling because we know it makes sense for us. I would say the other part, like I said, financial stuff to look at is the debt stuff. You really want to make sure the business has no debt as well. And if it does, then you definitely want to be just taking ownership of the trading name and not the actual company from company's house. And I guess the last part, which is probably the biggest shock for us, was inventory and fulfillment cost. So the brand we acquired didn't have this in place. The wife was pick and packing all the boxes.
Yeah.
So we then got a 3PL company. And in my head, I had an idea of how much it would cost. I did some Google searches, as anyone would do. I got some quotes back from companies and it all sounded very reasonable. But then when you start to realize how much space you need in a warehouse and how much stock's coming in, goods in fees, pick and packing fees, like it starts to add up and that can play a really big role. So I highly recommend going very deep with a 3PL company before you acquire, because if I went deeper, I probably would have came in at a lower price with the brand owner to compensate for the lower margin I thought I would actually be getting when I bought the brand.
Yeah. Well, you said that the previous owner's wife was picking and packing everything from their house. I still don't know how she used to do that. It seems impossible to me.
Superhero, right?
Yeah.
Superhero.
True.
I imagine the house is full of boxes, right? Because
Yeah.
I mean, we're sending easily over 500 boxes a month, 700 sometimes actually.
Yeah.
And these boxes are like probably the size of this laptop. I mean, if you listen to the audio version of this, it's the size of a MacBook Air, MacBook Pro.
Yeah.
And probably the thickness of,
I don't know, like 12 centimeters high.
half a shoebox.
Yeah.
If you buy some Nike Air Forces or some Dunks, like that, basically.
Or my chunky boots.
Yeah, if you can see the podcast, I don't know if you see Mara's shoes, but yeah they're very, very big. Like our plans for Knit in the Box.
Wow.
What a nice segue.
Look at you.
Look at me. I'm flying. I'm on fire today.
And because we're talking about Knit in a Box and it's a brand with such a big community, what role does brand reputation played in your decision to acquire Knit in a Box in the first place?
Massive. Like, reputation takes years and years to build and seconds to ruin. So
wow, yeah.
Knit in a Box had 4,000, almost 4,000 5-star reviews at the time we acquired it. That is just unheard of, like, even for the largest knitting brands out there in the UK and even probably Europe as well.
Yeah.
So they have such a thriving community and such a good back end in terms of generating more reviews and UGC content as well. So for me, like, if it didn't have that, would I have bought the brand? Most likely, because everything else was really great. Would I have paid the price I paid to acquire it? Hell no. Hell no. I would have come in a little bit cheaper for sure. So I think if you've got a brand and it's got a good reputation, you pretty much fast track a lot of the early parts of your business trying to build social proof, because social proof is everything. You have the best products in the world, but if you've got no like thriving reviews about you, then quite frankly, I don't know if you're telling the truth about your product being the best, because no one says it's the best. So yeah, it matters a lot.
You mentioned all of the great reviews Kiab had when acquiring it. So it would be very interesting for people to learn how to manage brand identity changes and rebranding after acquiring, because you want to make it your own, right? You can't keep it the way it is forever and you want to improve it. So how do you manage that?
More better question is, how did you managing that? Because I was so eager to change everything. So yeah, the website was very outdated when we bought it. Like, it was not user friendly. It was literally the homepage was like, the hero image was like, I don't know, probably the whole height of a normal homepage. It was massive. Like, you couldn't even see anything. You scrolled in, there was two massive chunks below it. Like, it wasn't great.
Count the pixels as well.
It was so bad. Picture image quality of the product. So we were so keen to change that as soon as possible. And I actually wanted to redesign the entire website from scratch and have something really unique to us and not just use a template theme. But then we decided what we wanted to do is probably too much. I mean, you want to keep our existing customers happy and not have too much drastic changes on them and kind of overwhelm them and think, what they love is changing. Because as much as we may not like it, I think what we need to remember when we're designing a website or we're designing anything, we're not designing for ourselves, we're designing for our customers. And they like the the less up-to-date design style and fonts. So we kind of stuck with it. And we went with a website revamp instead. So we just subtly improved a lot of the website in a lot of areas. But the overall feel designish of the website isn't too dissimilar to what it was when we acquired it. And we've seen a big impact on conversion rates from both organic and paid sources of traffic to the website. And our customers haven't said anything bad. So I think we've done a good job on that.
Yeah, I think we did. But from someone watching from home and hearing everything you have to say, it does sound like a lot. And maybe they're thinking, why would I acquire an existing brand when I can just start my own from scratch and not have to deal with all of these changes and everything that we had to deal with? So what would you say are the key benefits of acquiring an existing brand over starting a new one?
Speed.
Oh,
Speed. I actually wanted to start an ecom brand from scratch.
Yeah.
But ecom brand owner is not my main thing. ClickSlice is my main focus and will always be my main focus. And I didn't want to spend months finding suppliers, getting samples, finalize the branding, building the website, starting from scratch, I don't have time for that. Like, I am better off just spending my time helping my clients grow at the agency.
Yeah.
So for me, the purpose of buying this brand wasn't to show I'm great at building a brand from scratch. It's to show that we can help scale these brands using the same services we offer at the agency. So for me, it just made sense for the overall vision of ClickSlice as a whole. And yeah, how fun is it picking up something that's already pretty decent and just taking it to another level?
Yeah, and especially when in a niche like ours that you don't know much about.
No.
Imagine just how much time you'd have to spend to learn everything without someone helping you in the first stages and giving you all the insights and what to do and what not to do. So it definitely makes it easier.
Yeah, again, I'm not saying it's not possible. Of course, loads of brands start from scratch.
True.
I just recommend if any other agency owners are watching this and they want to kind of have a similar play, you're better off acquiring than starting from scratch. And if you start from scratch, good job. And when your clients fall off, I will be taking them. That sounds so toxic. Yeah, I didn't mean in a bad way, honestly. But no, honestly, it is way better to acquire. And anyone who runs an agency should have a lot of capital that they can invest to grow the business, and it's a very good way to kind of make your money work for you, so to speak.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, it's now one of our best case studies at ClickSlice.
As it should be.
Yeah, it is. I don't know what we put on the website. It's like we put our money where our mouth is.
Yeah,
I think that hits quite hard.
It does.
Because who else can say that?
Yeah.
And we have no contracts as well. Like, come on, guys. Like, if you're looking for an SEO agency, why are you still looking? You found them?
Yeah, true. We're the best ones.
Exactly. Unbiased, of course.
And that being said, this brings us to the end of another very interesting, value-packed episode. Thank you for sharing all that information with me and the audience. And we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. See ya.
Bye.